Good evening and welcome to TVB News. A fire broke out last night at the construction site for a skyscraper hotel in Tsim Sha Tsui, leading to over 100 residents in the area having to be evacuated. Firefighters spent more than 9 hours combating the blaze and are still investigating the source of the fire. Timothy Lee has our top story.
A 40-story pillar engulfed in flames. That's the scene Hong Kongers from Tsim Sha Tsui to across the harbor witnessed last night. Yesterday at around 11 p.m., a fire broke out at the Empire Group's Mariners Club construction site on Tsim Sha Tsui's Middle Road. The intensity of the flames severely damaged the bamboo scaffolding on the exterior, and debris and cinders could be seen plummeting towards the ground. A TVB crew was there on the scene. Many local residents and bystanders had to be evacuated, with 2 people having been sent to hospital after they reported feeling unwell. The student said she was terrified when she saw embers floating closer towards her and quickly left her building before she was even properly dressed. The fire services classified the fire as a number 3 alarm blaze before it was upgraded to a number 4 fire, the second highest on the department's scale of seriousness. Firefighters tried to put out the devastating fire over the course of the night, but their efforts were hampered by strong winds in the area. Deputy Chief Fire Officer Kung Sai-ming said that because the fire occurred at a building of this height, the wind carried the flames to at least 5 nearby buildings, including Chungking Mansions and the Sheraton Hong Kong Hotel and Towers. It took more than 9 hours for authorities to put out the main fire, and the blaze was under control by 8:30 this morning. Some local residents said they had trouble returning home last night, adding that they were almost hit by flaming fragments that fell from the sky.
I was just coming home from Murdaugh Road and I saw all these people gathered here. I just come back into town and I saw this whole building on fire. I pass this every single day. You could see the cinder and the embers go into the I square on the floor. It was falling like fire from the sky. It was unreal. It was just like a movie.
It was reported that the blaze started on the top floor of the damaged structure, and authorities are still looking into the cause.
As you can see behind me, the fire has largely been put out after firefighters spent the entire night battling the blaze. Many people around the area continue to be affected by the fire last night. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Fire Services Department continues to hose down the building in order to cool down the hotel, and it's still evaluating the damage sustained by the structure. Some structural engineers said that depending on the severity of the fire's damage to the concrete, adjustments may even have to be made for the rebar in the building. Due to the hotel's construction being incomplete, the building was lacking proper fire service installations and equipment. Firefighters could only use temporary firefighting tools available on the upper floors of the structure. A fire services consultant noted that the city currently lacks the legal requirement for construction sites of buildings of such height to follow the department's code of practice. The annual session of China's top consultative body, the CPPCC, will open in Beijing on Saturday, and the list of chairmen of the event has been published. Former Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying is on that list, suggesting he will retain his position as Vice Chairman of the CPPCC. Meanwhile, Hong Kong deputies to the National People's Congress headed to Beijing earlier today to participate in the opening of the NPC session on Sunday. Mimo Sengai reports.
The first session of the 14th National People's Congress will commence in Beijing on Sunday. Many Hong Kong NPC members departed for Beijing early this morning, including the LegCo member Priscilla Learn and the current standing committee member of the NPC, Tam Yu-zhong. Earlier, Tam announced he will no longer run for the standing committee in the next election, leaving a question for many people who will be Tam's successor. Many turned their attention to the newly elected NPC member and the chairman of the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong, Sterry Lee, who is seen as a potential candidate. Lee said the standing committee member has an important role, acting as a two-way bridge at times outside the formal Congress. Lee said she will do her best if she has the opportunity to take the post. President of the Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions, Stanley Ng, said he will advise the central government to allow the Hong Kong authorities to buy property in the Greater Bay Area as public rental housing for Hong Kong residents. Chief Executive John Lee, meanwhile, will leave Hong Kong Saturday to attend the opening ceremony of the NPC before returning on Monday. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
Starting next Saturday, the Hong Kong high-speed rail section will first resume its long-distance service between West Kowloon and Chaoshan, Shantou and East Zhaoqing. Meanwhile, the full resumption of the long-distance service is set for April the 1st, connecting Hong Kong and stations outside Guangdong province. The government also announced passengers who take the first daily departure trains to Guangzhou East Station can experience a shorter journey time of over 10 minutes from next Saturday. That's as the trains will not stop at two intermediate stations, Futian and Dongguan. Foreign Minister Qin Gang has rejected accusations that the Chinese embassy in Canada attempted to interfere in Canada's elections. Qin made the remarks when meeting with his Canadian counterpart Melanie Joly on the sidelines of the G20 foreign ministers meeting. He said the claims are groundless, adding that China has never meddled with other countries' internal affairs and opposes such attempt by any country. Welcome back to TVB News. Greater Bay Airlines secured the order of 15 Boeing 737 MAX jets today. The acquisition sets the stage for a long-term partnership between the two sides.
Hello, Hong Kong.
Executive Vice President of the Boeing company, Stanley Deal, is in the city today to finalize the deal. The Hong Kong-based Greater Bay Airlines, or GBA, secured the order of 15 737-9 airplanes from Boeing, which includes a commitment for 5 787 Dreamliners. The ceremony was attended by top officials, including Financial Secretary Paul Chan and senior Boeing executives. The chairman of GBA, Wong Cho-bao, said the airline's sister carrier, Donghai Airlines, is also using 737 jets and believes the planes can lower operation and training costs. The 220-seat aircraft is expected to reduce fuel use and emissions by 20% and save up to 8 million pounds of carbon emissions annually. The first batch of planes will be delivered next year. Stan Deal discussed the significance of the purchase with TVB News.
The first 737 MAXs in Hong Kong, which has been a market dominated by our competition in narrow bodies. So we're delighted about that. For us, the selling process is about bringing forward the best of Boeing to convince the customer that this airplane can deliver on economics and passenger comfort, which was kind of how Greater Bay Airlines wanted to position their brand.
But safety issues did come into play. Between 2018 and 2019, two 737 MAX planes crashed after taking off, leading to a ban from Chinese airspace for 4 years.
We've worked through, had to make some difficult changes. The MAX is back, though. It's safely operating. It's got millions of flight hours now, demonstrated reliability, wide acceptance by the consumer. We're going to continue to have an absolute safety-first focus.
Reaching for the stars and striving for excellence, the airline is looking into opening up business class service in the future and says the spacious cabin on the 737 MAX jets is ideally suited to fulfill that goal.
Deal also remains positive despite competition from Airbus and Chinese-made C919 jets.
We love the competition. Candidly, competition makes us great. It's terrific to see the 919 now certified, and we compete every day against Airbus. So I think it brings the best out.
Customs says they seized over 5,000 bottles of opium earlier this year, estimated to be worth around $15 million. The drugs were discovered in early January when authorities inspected goods declared as herbal products that originated from Pakistan. Authorities noted the rarity of opium in Hong Kong these days and believe that it is the largest case of the last 2 decades. They think that criminals attempted to utilize a local logistics company to retrieve the products before delivering it to another party to transport the drugs to the mainland. Overseas, the US and South Korea are about to conduct their largest joint military exercise in more than 5 years. The drills start in just over a week and will last 10 days.
We will also conduct a number of large-scale combined field training exercises that have returned to the scale of full Eagle. One of those exercises will include a combined amphibious drill that will be conducted to improve combined operation execution capabilities.
Full Eagle is the name for the annual combined training with US and South Korea troops. The scale of this was reduced under the Donald Trump administration, but now the event has been beefed up again and named Freedom Shield. It comes against a backdrop of several missile tests from North Korea since the start of the year. The death toll from the Greek train collision has gone above 50. The latest figure released is 57. David Garrett reports.
These overhead drone shots show the area of devastation, bits of trains scattered in all directions. The first 2 carriages of Tuesday's overnight trip from Athens to Thessaloniki are destroyed. The next 2 still occupy a grass verge next to the track. People had to jump from their cars to safety. It remains unclear exactly how or why it happened. Rail workers in Greece have now walked out in an extraordinary move. They refused to work for 24 hours. Hence, tracks across the nation were empty, no trains moving anywhere. They say years of chronic underfunding have made the infrastructure unsafe. As unions called the walkout, they released a statement saying the government had rejected modern security systems, throwing them in the bin. Protesters have taken to the streets. This was Thursday night in Athens. There have been protests in other cities too. They are furious with ministers. Most of these people marching in the rain are students. Many victims were young, like them. The Transport Minister has already resigned, but the government says they inherited a failing rail system. The Prime Minister has blamed human error. The Larissa station manager was charged with manslaughter and causing serious physical harm through negligence. His lawyer spoke outside the court. He said, "My client has assumed his share of the responsibility within the framework that he should have had, but we shouldn't focus on the tree when there's a whole forest behind it." Amid all the recriminations, people are grieving. Relatives wait in pain. This woman has been searching for her brother. She's been waiting for hours. Her mother has had to provide a DNA sample. She says they don't know how to answer. The clean-up operation continues on Friday. The death toll could rise further. David Garrett, TVB News.
In the U.S., a South Carolina jury has found top lawyer Alex Murdaugh guilty of killing his wife and son. The 54-year-old now faces 30 years to life in prison. This report from NBC News.
Tonight, 12 jurors remain behind closed doors, deliberating the fate of Alex Murdaugh, deciding whether he's guilty or innocent of murdering his wife and son in June of 2021.
We'll be in recess waiting for the verdict.
The defense offering closing arguments Thursday, hitting hard against the prosecution's theory on motive, calling it irrational and insane.
Why would Alex Murdaugh on June 7th execute his son Paul and his wife Maggie, who he adored and loved?
arguing that the risk of financial exposure and for alleged financial crimes wasn't an impending storm as suggested by prosecutors and was not reasonable cause for the brutal killings.
He's about to be exposed. And because of that, he does what every rational person would do. Go kill your wife and son. That is their theory of motive.
And finally, an emotional plea to the jury to find Alec not guilty.
On behalf of Buster, on behalf of Maggie, and on behalf of my friend Paul, I respectfully request that you do not compound a family tragedy with another.
Prosecutors pushing back in rebuttal, reminding the jury that Alec lied to investigators for months, claiming the only reason he admitted his biggest lie is because he learned there was a kennel video placing him there.
Well, the only thing they corroborated for you throughout the investigation, throughout this trial, and throughout Mr. Waters' cross-examination is he's a liar.
Appealing to jurors to use common sense and the evidence.
I think he loved Maggie. I think he loved Paul. But you know who he loved more than that? You know who he loved more than that? And who he's going to make sure that that life, wanted to make sure that life, he loved Alex.
And before we go, we would like to leave you with some tranquil images of sunsets in the city. Have a great weekend.